Hi, friends. In our time together today, we're talking about back pressure as it relates to our whistles. And we've had a number of folks in our community who have said, could we dive in and talk about back pressure? It's really confusing. I agree, it is confusing. You know, when we describe a whistle, we say it has a lot of back pressure, a little bit of back pressure, and it's a word that doesn't seem to easily imply what it means. So I'm going to give a rough definition of back pressure. We're going to spend most of our time talking about how you sense back pressure and what it means for how you play. And we'll give some other descriptions of back pressure. The very first thing I want to say out of the gate, though, is generalizations aren't alwayzizations. Yes, I made up a word. Just because something is generally relates to something else doesn't mean it always or necessarily relates to something else. Because specifically here, with regard to back pressure and a whistle, just because a whistle that has a lot of back pressure, it has a warmer, more expressive tone, doesn't mean that you need to have back pressure to accomplish that tone. Because it is often present doesn't mean it has to always be present, okay? And I'll say that again. So defining back pressure. I'm going to define back pressure by using a term that you'll hear some whistle manufacturers use. An easy blower whistle, meaning you're just blowing easily, or a hard blower. You really have to push. That easy blower to hard blower describes the full range of back pressure. Not much back pressure, a lot of back pressure. Easy, not much. Hard blowing, a lot. So I would describe back pressure as the resistance you sense when playing a whistle that causes you to have to blow harder to get good tone. It's not a volume of air, it's the pressure of air you need to blow into your whistle. I know even the definition is fuzzy. So let's talk about a little bit more of the implications of what this means for us. So I want to say that the tone of a whistle is crafted in many ways. There are many, many factors. This is my Howard. The size of the airway, the shape of the airway, the size and shape of the tone hole, whether there are walls around the tone hole or not, the size and shape and length of the blade that the air hits, the size and depth of the chamber here at the front, the innards of the airway, the size and shape of the bore of the whistle. The Howard is straight. This is the carbony. It's tapered. All of those things contribute to the tone of a whistle, and many of those things contribute to whether you will experience back pressure or not. You see, when you're playing a whistle, you blow into the thing. It needs the tone hole or it wouldn't make a tone, but it needs that blade because the blade grabs the air you're blowing in, throws some of it out, keeps some of it, and that air starts naturally swirling in the chamber, and then you've got to blow that swirling, vibrating, let's call it vibrating air down the whistle, which creates a, you guessed it, sound wave. And then depending upon what holes you have covered depends upon what notes come out. And you have to have the air split. Some come out, some come in. The amount of air the whistle keeps, some people say, determines how much back pressure you're going to experience, and the amount of air the whistle doesn't keep determines the amount of back pressure you're going to experience. Some people say, ha ha ha, have I confused you yet? I hope so, because it is confusing. It's not a simple thing. A whistle is a highly engineered instrument. And to get all the complexities of good solid tone, some people say that back pressure is a factor of the size of the airway you blow into. Well, sure, that's one of the factors. That's probably the first factor. But it's more stuff than that. Like I said, it's even the shape of the body. Back pressure is even impacted by the shape of the body. So, many factors create, excuse me, the tone of a whistle. Many factors impact back pressure, or whether a whistle is a hard blower or not. And that back pressure is designed into the whistle. So let's talk about some of what this means for playing our whistles. And I don't want to belabor the point, but I want us to know the implications of what back pressure is. But remember, generalizations are not always is. You heard me say, so the first point is that back pressure is crafted by a number of features. And you heard me say in there that back pressure is a range. I have the goldfinch whistle. The goldfinch is an easy blower, I would say. I have the nightingale. I had to find it, sorry. I have the nightingale by Caravev. I would describe as an easy blower. And that doesn't have a lot of back pressure. So there's a range. My Howard, for example, I'll grab the Howard. Howard's somewhere in the middle, medium to just under medium back pressure. I had to learn how to play this. Actually, you have to learn how to play every whistle, whether it has a lot of back pressure or not. Good tone quality is not just a factor of overcoming back pressure or dealing with back pressure. So when I got into the top of the second octave of my Howard, I had to learn to blow harder. The MK Pro, I'll just start in the second octave to right around that F sharp. I've really got to blow harder. So that does impact. So that first point is just there's a range of pressure that you're going to experience from one whistle to another. My third point is that back pressure is not just a low whistle thing. Back pressure is a whistle thing. I first contacted Roy McManus, who makes beautiful high D whistles, and I told him I was interested in ordering one of his whistles. And he emailed me back and he said, "Are you sure? Because you really have to blow hard to play one of my whistles. I don't make those easy blower whistles." I'm like, whoa. Now, but I appreciate him saying that, because not everybody wants a whistle that you have to blow real hard into. So that was my third point. Back pressure is not just a low D whistle thing or a low whistle thing. It's a whistle thing. All whistles have it. 4. The more back pressure that is present in a whistle, the harder you have to blow to get notes out. This is particularly experienced in the second octave, but can be experienced in all the notes on the whistle. Now, the reason I say that is that determines how the whistle wants to be played. We've talked about whistles and learning how to play your whistle, there are many factors that you need to understand as you learn to play your whistle, and back pressure is one of them. You have to come to grips with the amount of breath pressure you need to play your whistle well. It's a fact of the whistle. So push hard, back off, see where that range is that enables you to play your whistle well. And every whistle will permit a certain range. You get some whistles that, and I've talked about this, you blow harder in the lower octave and the tone just breaks and falls apart. You blow harder on some whistles, or you blow harder in the second octave, and you find that there's a range of breath pressure from down here to up here that I can get good tone quality between those two breath pressures. So I would call that a range of expressiveness that you could use in playing your whistle. Range of volume that permits you to be more expressive or less. Now, the fifth point is that you might think this means that a whistle that requires more breath pressure is going to require more air. Well, it's actually quite the opposite, which is kind of funny. A whistle that's an easy blower often uses more air. I'm going to come back to the Nightingale by Karavev. This one leans easy blower, and so an easy blower whistle sends a little more air out than a hard blowing whistle, a whistle with more back pressure. So this whistle doesn't keep as much air in it as the MK Pro from a back pressure standpoint. And so even though I have to blow harder in the MK Pro, I breathe slightly less frequently than I do with the Nightingale. Isn't that fascinating? So back pressure is not a direct correlation of the volume of air. Back pressure relates to the pressure of air you need to push into your whistle to break through that resistance to get good tone, because you have to take this clogged air that the whistle's keeping and you have to force it down the body of the whistle. And that's one of the reasons why a tapered bore could do that, because a tapered bore is going to cause the air to back up a little bit. And so you have to force it down more, as opposed to a whistle without much back pressure where it's flowing more smoothly through the whistle. See, that's why some of these words need to be described rather than defined. So I'd say that back pressure is one. This is my sixth point. Back pressure is one of the factors that contributes to the character, the tone of a whistle. This is the Carbony wide bore low D close finger spacing. I would say this leans easy blower, but it has a warm, rich tone. So if you were to say that heavy back pressure means warm tone, maybe generally, but not always. It is a factor that contributes to the tone. There are so many other factors that define the tone of your whistle, and back pressure is not the sole contributor to that. It's just one of the means by which a manufacturer creates the tone. I need to do an aside here. If you are a whistle manufacturer, bless you, thank you. I would love to come and hang out for a while and talk about everything that contributes to what generates the tone of these whistles you guys make, because it's just amazing. And there's all kinds of stuff. There's magic that happens in the head, I like to say, but the magic happens in the body as well. All the engineering and craftsmanship that goes into making a whistle. So, man, I'd love to come and hang out with some of you. You know, there are some whistle manufacturers that say, well, when you order a whistle from me, tell me if you want an easy blower or a hard blower, an easy medium, or a medium hard blower. Because everybody wants something different. Those are descriptions of a range of back pressure: easy, medium, medium hard, and hard. Those are descriptions of a range of back pressure. But that doesn't necessarily equate to saying that an easy blower is clean tone and a hard blower is always warm tone. There are other factors that go into it. And then other factors of the tone, breathiness, chiff, aren't necessarily back pressure issues. So back pressure is just part of it. It's part of the thing of how our whistles play. I do want to say, though, 7, generally speaking, not always speaking, back pressure often relates to the expressiveness. A whistle, let me say it this way. A whistle with high back pressure or medium to high back pressure is normally more expressive in tone than a whistle that is an easy blower. But don't take that to the bank as an always, because I have easy blower whistles that are very expressive. I showed you the Caravev, the Nightingale by Caravev. It's an easy blower and it's very expressive. The Goldfinch, easy blower, very expressive. Those aren't direct correlations. They are generalizations. So that's pretty interesting. So the level of back pressure doesn't necessitate a specific tone quality. It is one of the primary factors. There are other things that define that. So again, whistle manufacturers, thank you so much. So the desire of, I want to come to another point, that the desirability of a whistle with high back pressure or low back pressure is up to you. You're going to find certain things about the whistle's volume, the whistle's tone, and back pressure is one of those features. So when you hear myself and others describe a whistle, we'll say things like, well, you really have to blow into this one, and that means it's got a lot of back pressure. If you want to use, or you might hear somebody say it's got a lot of back pressure, and that translated means you really have to blow into this one. Listen to the tone. Now, some people don't want a whistle you have to blow hard into. Well, buy a whistle you don't have to blow hard into that still has the tone you want. That is possible. Some people say that a beginner often wants an easy blower, and a more experienced player will gravitate toward a hard blowing whistle. And that's not necessarily the case. It is a generalization based on what a lot of people prefer. A generalization. I know beginners who tried an easy blower and said, no, let me try a hard blower. Let me try a medium blower. Oh, I like that. I chose the Howard because it's more leaning medium blower. When I started playing just under 2 years ago, I know professionals who prefer easy blowers over hard blowers. It's up to you what you want. Listen for the tone. Can you tolerate the hard blower or easy blower, the back pressure? I know some people that prefer back pressure simply because it means they don't have to breathe as frequently and they can hold a phrase longer and mess around with that phrase and how they're playing. See, That's why I described all these different factors that relate to back pressure aren't necessarily direct correlations, though the amount of air you have to push into is probably the primary, almost direct correlation. That doesn't mean that easy blowers always make you take a breath every other note. See, there's a range here. There's such a range here, and there are so many other factors that come into play. I want you, my friends, to choose the whistle you want. Some people say that if you get a whistle with high back pressure, there's one last point. If you get a whistle with high back pressure, that means it's going to take longer to learn to play it. No, every whistle you get, easy blower, hard blower, you have to learn to play that whistle. You have to learn how that whistle wants to be played well. That takes time. That takes experience. That takes learning the whistle. You're going to have to do that no matter what whistle you buy. You're going to have to put in the work to learn to play well. So my friends, as we close ourselves down here, find the tone you want. Decide whether you want to use less air, which means you're going to have to blow harder into the whistle, and at the top of the second octave might be harder to play. Decide if you want a whistle that plays crazy easy, but you're going to have to breathe more, or do you want something somewhere in the middle? When I and others describe whistles, I hope I do an adequate job of that, and I love the easy, hard, medium blower description, as opposed to a lot of back pressure or just a little back pressure. I want us to understand these terms, though, because these terms, when you hear described of a whistle, are things that help you decide whether you want a whistle or not. But to be honest, at the end of the day, you need to hold the whistle and play the whistle. But you have to have a sense as to whether you want an easy blower or a hard blower or something that's in between. And so that's why I and others do our best to try and describe them. My friends, I hope this conversation about back pressure and the whistle is helpful for you. If so, please like the video so that YouTube says, hey, maybe we should pay attention to this community. If you're just checking us out because of this conversation, I'd love to welcome you in. Please subscribe. Join this phenomenal community of people helping each other learn to play the whistle. We're focused on the low whistle, but we do a lot of high whistle stuff as well. And I am so appreciative of all of you for asking questions, for answering my questions, for helping me understand how to play better, for helping me learn to play, and for learning with me. Until next time, my friends, this is Scott Shade. Happy whistling.